the Mahabharata of Krishna-Dwaipayana Vyasa. Translated into English prose from the original Sanskrit text by Pratap Chandra Roy C.I.E. This free ebook has been downloaded from holybooks.com. Udyoga Parva. Section 161, Udyoga Parva. Sanjaya said, after the high-souled Pandavas, O king, had encamped by the side of the Hiranvati, the Kauravas also fixed their camps. And King Duryodhana, having strongly posted his troops and paid homage to all the kings on his side, and planted outposts and bodies of soldiers for the protection of warriors, summoned those rulers of men, viz., Karna and Dusasana and Sakuni, the son of Suvala, and began, O Bharata, to consult with them. And King Duryodhana, O Bharata, having first consulted with Karna, and next, O monarch, with Karna and his own brother Dusasana, and Suvala's son all together, then summoned, O bull among men, Uluka. And bringing him into his presence in private, told him, O king, these words: O Uluka, O son of an adept at dice, repair thou unto the Pandavas and the Somakas. And repairing thither, repeat these my words unto Yudhishthira in the hearing of Vasudeva. That terrible battle between the Kurus and the Pandavas, which had been expected from a long time back, has at last come. Those boastful words which Sanjaya brought to me in the midst of the Kurus, and which thou hadst, with Vasudeva and thy younger brothers, uttered in a deep roar. The time, O son of Kunti, hath at last come for making them good. Do ye achieve, therefore, all which ye have pledged yourselves to achieve. Unto the eldest son of Kunti thou must say as my words the following: Virtuous as thou art, how canst then, with all thy brothers, with the Somakas and the Kekayas, set thy heart upon unrighteousness? How canst thou wish the destruction of the universe when, as I think, thou shouldst be the dispeller of the fears of all creatures? O bull of Bharata's race, this sloka sung of old by Prahlada when his kingdom had been wrested from him by the gods, hath been heard by us. Ye gods, that person whose standard of righteousness is always up, but whose sins are always concealed, is said to adopt the behavior of the cat in the story. I will here repeat to thee, O king, this excellent story recited by Narada to my father. A wicked cat, O king, once on a time took up his abode on the banks of the Ganges, abandoning all work and with his hands upraised after the manner of a devotee. Pretending to have purified his heart, he said unto all creatures these words, for inspiring confidence in them, viz., I am now practicing virtue. After a long time, all oviparous creatures reposed trust in him, and coming unto him all together, O monarch, they all applauded that cat. And worshipped by all feathery creatures, that devourer of feathery creatures, regarded his purpose already accomplished, as also the purpose of his austerities. And after some more time, the mice went to that place. And these also all beheld him to be a virtuous person engaged in the observance of vows, and proudly exerting himself in a grand act. And having arrived at that settled conviction, they entertained the following wish: O king, many foes we have. Let this one therefore become our maternal uncle, and let him always protect all the old and young ones of our race. And going at last to the cat, all of them said, Through thy grace we desire to roam in happiness. Thou art our gracious shelter, thou art our great friend. For this, all of us place ourselves under thy protection. Thou art always devoted to virtue, thou art always engaged in the acquisition of virtue. O thou of great wisdom, protect us, therefore, like the wielder of the thunderbolt protecting the celestials. Thus addressed, O king, by all the mice, the cat answered them saying, I do not see the consistency of these two, viz., my ascetic pursuits and this protection that I am called upon to grant. I cannot avoid, however, doing good to you agreeably to your request. You all, at the same time, should always obey my words. staying as I am in the observance of a severe vow, I am weakened by my ascetic practices. I do not, therefore, see the means of my moving from place to place. Ye all should therefore, bear me hence every day to the riverside. Saying, so be it, the mice then, O bull of Bharata's race, made over all their old and young ones to that cat. Then that sinful creature of wicked soul, feeding on mice, gradually became fat and of good complexion and strong in his limbs. And thus while the mice began to be reduced in number, the cat began to grow in vigor and strength. Then all the mice, coming together, said unto one another, our uncle is daily growing stout, while we are being daily reduced in number. Then a certain mouse endued with wisdom, named Dindika, said, O king, these words unto the large swarm of mice gathered there, go all of ye to the riverside together. I will follow ye, accompanying our uncle. Excellent, excellent, they said, and applauded that one of their number. And they all did just as those words of grave import spoken by Dindika seemed to indicate. The cat, however, not knowing all this, ate up Dindika that day. All the mice then, without losing much time, began to take counsel of one another. Then a very old mouse named Kilika said these just words, O king, in the presence of all his kinsfolk, our uncle is not really desirous of earning virtue. He hath, like a hypocrite, become our friend when in reality he is our enemy. Indeed, the excreta of a creature that liveth only upon fruits and roots never containeth hair of fur. Then again, while his limbs are growing, our number is decaying. Besides, Dindika cannot be seen for these 8 days. Hearing these words, the mice ran away in all directions. And that cat also of wicked soul returned to whence he came. O thou of wicked soul, thou too art a practicer of such feline behavior. Thou behavest towards thy kinsmen after the manner of the cat in the story towards the mice. Thy speech is of one kind, and thy conduct is of another. Thy devotion to scripture and thy peacefulness of behavior are only for display before men. Giving up this hypocrisy, O king, adopt the practices of a Kshatriya and do all that one should do as such. Art thou not virtuous, O bull among men? Acquiring the earth by means of the prowess of thy arms, make gifts, O best of the Bharatas, unto the Brahmanas and to the manes of thy deceased ancestors as one should. Seeking the good of that mother of thine who hath been afflicted with distress for a series of years, dry up her tears, and confer honors on her by vanquishing thy foes in battle. Thou hadst with great abjectness solicited only 5 villages. Even that was rejected by us, for how could we bring about a battle, how could we succeed in angering the Pandavas, was all that we sought. Remembering that it was for thee that the wicked Vidura was driven by us and that we had tried to burn you all in the house of Lak, be a man now, at the time of Krishna's setting out from Upaplavya for the Kuru court, thou hadst through him communicated this message to us, viz, Hear, O king, I am prepared for either war or peace. Know, O monarch, that the hour hath come for battle. O Yudhishthira, I have made all these preparations in view of that. What doth a Kshatriya regard as some more estimable accession of good fortune than battle? Born thou hast been in the Kshatriya order. Known also thou art in the world. Having obtained weapons again from Drona and Kripa, why, O bull of the Bharata race, dost thou rely on Vasudeva who belongeth to the same order of life as thyself and who is not superior to thee in might? Thou must also say unto Vasudeva in the presence of the Pandavas these words, for thy own sake, as also for the sake of the Pandavas, withstand me in battle to the best of thy power. Assuming once more that form which thou hadst assumed before in the Kuru court, rush thou with Arjuna against me on the field. A conjurer's tricks or illusions may sometimes inspire fright. But as regards the person that stands armed for fight, such deceitance instead of inspiring fight only provoke anger. We also are competent, by our powers of illusion, to ascend to heaven or the firmament, or penetrate into the nether region or the city of Indra. We also can display various forms in our own body. The great ordainer bringeth all creatures to subjection by a fiat of his will and never by such conjurers' tricks. Thou always sayest, O thou of Vrishisna's race, these words, viz. Causing the sons of Dhritarashtra to be slain in battle, I will confer undisputed sovereignty on the sons of Pritha. These words of thine were brought to Ma by Sanjaya. Thou hadst also said, No, ye Kauravas, that it is with Arjuna, having me for his second, ye have provoked hostilities. Truthfully adhering to that pledge, put forth thy energy for the Pandavas and fight now in battle to the best of thy power. Show us that thou canst be a man. He is said to be truly alive who, having ascertained the weight of his foes, inspired grief in them by resorting to true manliness. Without any reason, O Krishna, great hath been thy fame spread in the world. It will however presently be known that there are many persons in the world that are really eunuchs, though possessed of the signs of manhood. A slave of Kansa, especially as thou art a monarch like me, should not cover himself in mail against thee. Say next repeatedly from me, O Uluka, unto that stupid ignorant gluttonous Bhimasena, who is even like a bull, though divested of horns, these words, viz. O son of Pritha, a cook thou hadst become, known by the name of Vallabha, in the city of Virata. All this is evidence of thy manliness. Let not the vow thou hadst made before in the midst of the Kuru court be falsified. Let Dusasana's blood be drunk if thou art able. O son of Kunti, thou often sayest, Speedily shall I slay Dhritarashtra's sons in battle. The time for accomplishing it hath now come. O Bharata, thou deservest to be rewarded in cookery. The difference, however, is very great between dressing food and fighting. Fight now, be a man. Indeed thou shalt have to lie down, deprived of life on the earth, embracing thy mace, O Bharata. The boast in which thou hadst indulged in the midst of thy assembly is all vain, O Vrikodara. Say Uluka unto Nakula from me these words, viz. Fight now, O Bharata, patiently. We desire, O Bharata, to behold thy manliness, thy reverence for Yudhishthira and thy hatred of myself. Recall to mind the sufferings in their entirety that Krishna had suffered. Next, thou must say these words of mine unto Sahadeva in the presence of the assembled monarchs. Fight in battle now to the best of thy power. Remember all your woes. Say next from me unto both Virata and Drupada these words, viz. Since the beginning of the creation, slaves, endued even with great accomplishments, have never been able to fully understand their masters. Nor have affluent kings been always able to understand their slaves. This king deserveth no praise. Possibly, under such a belief, ye have come against me. United together, fight ye therefore against me for achieving my death, and accomplish the objects ye have in view, as also those that the Pandavas have. Say also from me unto Dhrishtadyumna, the prince of Panchalas, these words, viz. The hour hath now come for thee. And thou also hast come for thy hour. Approaching Drona in battle thou wilt know what is best for thee. Achieve thou the business of thy friend. Accomplish that feat which is difficult of accomplishment. Tell next repeatedly from me, Uluka, unto Sikhandini these words, viz. The mighty armed Kaurava, foremost of all bowmen, Ganga's son Bhishma, will not slay thee, knowing thee to be only a female. Fight now without any fear. Achieve in battle what canst to the best of thy power. We desire to behold thy prowess. Vaisampayana continued. Having said this, King Duryodhana laughed aloud. And addressing Uluka again he said, Say once more unto Dhananjaya in the hearing of Vasudeva these words, viz. O hero, either vanquishing us rule thou this world, or vanquished by us lie thou down on the field deprived of life. Recalling to thy mind the sufferings occasioned by your banishment from the kingdom, the woes of your sojourn in the woods, and the affliction of Krishna, be a man, O son of Pandu. That for which a Kshatriya lady bringeth forth a son is now arrived. Displaying therefore in battle thy might, energy, courage, manliness, and great dexterity and speed in the use of weapons, appease thy wrath. Afflicted with woe, and dispirited and exiled from home for a long time, and driven from his kingdom, who is there whose heart would not break? Who is there, well-born, and brave, and uncovetous of others' wealth, that would not have his wrath excited when his kingdom descending from generation to generation is attacked? Realize indeed those high words that thou hadst said. One that only boasts without being able to do anything is regarded as a worthless man by those that are good. Recover thy kingdom and those possessions that are now owned by thy force. Even these two are the purposes which a person desirous of war hath in view. Exert therefore thy manliness. Thou wert one as a slave at dice. Krishna was caused by us to be brought into the assembly. One that regardeth himself a man should certainly display his wrath at this. For 12 long years hadst thou been exiled from home into the woods, and 1 whole year hadst thou passed in Virata's service. Remembering the pangs of banishment from the kingdom and of thy sojourn in the woods, as also those which Krishna had suffered, be thou a man. Display thy wrath towards those that repeatedly utter harsh words at thee and thy brothers. Indeed, wrath such as that would consist in manliness. Let thy anger, thy might and prowess and knowledge, and thy lightness of hand in the use of weapons, be exhibited. Fight, O son of Pritha, and prove to be a man. The incantations in respect of all thy weapons have been performed. The field of Kurukshetra is free from mire. Thy steeds are hale and strong. Thy soldiers have received their pay. With Kesava, therefore, as thy second, fight with us. Without encountering Bhishma as yet, why dost thou indulge in such boasts? Like a fool who, without having ascended the Gandhamadana mountains, boasts of his would-be feat, thou, O son of Kunti, art indulging in a similar bragging, be a man. Without having vanquished in battle the invincible Karna of the Sutha race, or Salya that foremost of persons, or Drona, the first of all mighty warriors and equal unto the Lord of Sachi in battle, how canst thou, O Partha, covet for thy kingdom? He that is a preceptor of both Vedic lore and bowmanship, he that hath crossed both those branches of learning, he that is foremost in battle and imperturbable as a tower, he whose might knoweth no diminution, that commander of armies, Drona of great effulgence, him, O Partha, thou wishest in vain to conquer. It is never heard that the Sumeru peak hath been crushed by the wind. Yet even the wind will bear away Sumeru, heaven itself will fall down on the earth, the very yugas will be altered in respect of their course, if what thou hast said unto me becometh true. What man is there, desirous of life, be it Partha or anybody else, who having approached that grinder of force, would be able to return home with sound body? What person is there, treading upon the earth with his feet, who, encountered by Drona and Bhishma and struck with their arrows, would escape from the battle with life? Like a frog having its abode in a well, why art thou not able to realize the might of this vast army of the assembled monarchs, invincible, looking like the very celestial host, and protected by these lords of men, as the heavenly host by the gods themselves, protected that is, by the kings of the east, the west, the south and the north, by the Kambojas, the Sakas, the Kasas, the Salvas, the Matsyas, the Kurus of the middle country, the Mlekkas, the Pulindas, the Dravidas, the Andhras, and the Kanchis, this host of many nations ready for battle, and resembling the uncrossable current of the Ganga. O thou of little understanding, How canst thou, O fool, venture to fight with me when stationed in the midst of my elephant host? Thy inexhaustible quivers, thy car given thee by Agni and thy celestial banner O Partha, will all O Bharata, be tested by us in battle. Fight O Arjuna, without bragging. Why dost thou indulge in too much boast? Success in battle resulted from the method in which it is fought. A battle is never gained by bragging. If O Dhananjaya, acts in this world succeeded in consequence of vauntings, all persons would then have succeeded in their objects, for who is there that is not competent to brag? I know that thou hast Vasudeva for thy ally. I know that thy Gandiva is full 6 cubits long. I know that there is no warrior equal to thee. Knowing all this, I retain thy kingdom yet. A man never winneth success in consequence of the attributes of lineage. It is the Supreme Ordainer alone who by his fiat of will make things hostile friendly subservient. For these 13 years, I have enjoyed sovereignty while ye were weeping. I shall continue to rule in the same way, slaying thee with thy kinsmen. Where was thy Gandiva then, when thou wert made slave one at stake? Where, O Falguni, was Bhima's might then? Your deliverance then came neither from Bhimasena, armed with mace, nor from you armed with Gandiva, but from the faultless Krishna. It was she, the daughter of Prishata's house, that delivered you all, sunk in slavery, engaged in occupations worthy only of the low, and working as servitors. I characterized you all as sesame seeds without kernel. That is true, for did not Partha some time after bear a braid when living in Virata's city? In the cooking apartments of Virata, Bhimasena was fatigued with doing the work of a cook. Even this, O son of Pritha, is evidence of my manliness. Flying from an encounter with hips and braids and waistbands, thyself binding thy hair, wert engaged in teaching the girls to dance. It is thus that Kshatriyas always inflict punishment on Kshatriyas. From fear of Vasudeva, or from fear of thyself, O Falguni, I will not give up the kingdom. Fight with Kesava as thy ally. Neither deception, nor conjurer's tricks, nor jugglery, can terrify the armed man addressed for fight. On the other hand, these provoke only his wrath. 1,000 Vasudevas, 100 Falgunis, approaching me whose arms and weapons never go for nothing, will surely fly away in all directions. Encounter Bhishma in combat, or strike the hill with thy head, or cross with the aid of thy 2 arms alone the vast and deep main. As regards my army, it is a veritable main, with Saradwat's son as its large fish, Viving-Seti as its huge snake, Bhishma as its current of immeasurable might, Drona as its unconquerable alligator, Karna and Salva and Salya its fishes and whirlpools. The ruler of the Kambojas its equine head emitting fire, Varadvala its fierce waves, Somadatta's son its well, Uyetsu and Dharmarjna its waters, Bhagadatta its gale, Shrateus and Hridika's son its gulfs and bays, Dusasana its current, Sushena and Chitrayuda its water elephants, hippopotamus, and crocodile, Jayadratha its submarine rock, Purumitra its depth, and Sakuni its shores. When having plunged into this surging ocean with its inexhaustible waves of weapons, thou wilt from fatigue, be deprived of senses and have all thy relatives and friends slain, then will repentance possess thy heart. Then also will thy heart turn away from the thought of ruling the earth, like the heart of a person of impure deeds turning away from hope of heaven. Indeed, for thee to win a kingdom to rule is as impossible as for one not possessed of ascetic merit to obtain heaven. Thus ends the 161st section in the Uluka Dutagamana Parva of the Udyoga Parva. Section 162, Uluka Dutagamana Parva. Sanjaya said, having reached the Pandava camp, the gambler's son Uluka presented himself before the Pandavas, and addressing Yudhishthira said, Thou art fully conversant with what envoys say. It behoveth thee not therefore to be angry with me if I repeat those words only which Duryodhana hath instructed me to tell. Hearing this, Yudhishthira said, Thou hast no fear, Uluka. Tell us without any anxiety what are the views of the covetous Duryodhana of limited sight. Then in the midst and presence of the illustrious and high-souled Pandavas, of the Srinjayas, and Krishna possessed of great fame, of Drupada with his sons, of Virata, and of all monarchs, Uluka said these words. Uluka said, Even this is what the high-souled King Duryodhana hath in the presence of all the Kuru heroes said unto thee. Listen to those words, O Yudhishthira. Thou wert defeated at dice, and Krishna was brought into the assembly. At this, a person who regarded himself a man would be justified in giving way to wrath. For 12 years wert thou banished from home into the woods. For 1 whole year didst thou live in Virata's service. Remembering the reason there is for wrath, thy exile, and the persecution of Krishna, be a man, O son of Pandu. Though weak, Bhima yet, O Pandava, made a vow. Let him if able drink the blood of Dusasana. Thy weapons have been properly worshipped and their presiding deities have been invoked. The field of Kurukshetra also is without mire. The roads are even. Thy steeds are well fed. Engage in battle therefore on the morrow, with Kesava as thy ally. Without having yet approached Bhishma in battle, why dost thou indulge in boasts? Like a fool that boasteth of his intention to ascend the mountains of Gandhamadana, thou, O son of Kunti, art indulging in a vain boast. Without having vanquished in battle the buttes Sankarna who is invincible, and Salya, that foremost of mighty persons, and that first of all warriors and equal unto Sachi's lord himself in combat, why, O son of Pritha, dost thou wish for sovereignty? A preceptor in both the Veds and the bow, he hath reached the end of both these branches of learning. Thou desirest in vain, O son of Pritha, to vanquish that leader of troops, the illustrious Drona, who fightest in the van, is incapable of being agitated, and whose strength knows no diminution. Never have we heard that the mountains of Sumeru have been crushed by the wind. But the wind will bear away Sumeru, heaven itself will fall down on the earth, the very Yudhu will be reversed, if what thou hast said unto me really get place. Who is there fond of life, fighting from the back of an elephant or of a horse or from a car, that would return home, safe and sound, after having encountered that grinder of force? What creature treading the earth with his feet, would escape with life from battle, having been attacked by Drona and Bhishma, or pierced with their terrible shafts? Like a frog within a well, why dost thou not realize the strength of this assembled host of monarchs, which resembleth the very celestial host, and which is protected by these kings like the gods protecting theirs in heaven, and which, swarming with the kings of the east, west, south, and north, with Kambojas, Sakas, Kasas, Salvas, Matsyas, Kurus of the middle country, Mlekkas, Pulindas, Dravidas, Andhras, and Kanchis, indeed with many nations, all addressed for battle, is uncrossable like the swollen tide of Ganga. O fool of little understanding, how wilt thou fight with me while I am stationed in the midst of my elephant force? Having said these words unto King Yudhishthira, the son of Dharma, Uluka, turning his face then towards Jishnu, said unto him these words, Fight without bragging, Arjuna. Why dost thou brag so much? Success resulted from the application of method. A battle is never won by bragging. If acts in this world, O Dhananjaya, succeeded in consequence only of boasts, then all men would have succeeded in their objects, for who is there that is not competent to brag? I know that thou hast Vasudeva for thy ally. I know that thy Gandiva is full 6 cubits long. I know that there is no warrior equal to thee. Knowing all this, I retain thy kingdom yet. A man never winneth success in consequence of the attribute of lineage. It is the supreme ordainer alone, who by his fiat, maketh things hostile, or friendly and subservient. For these 13 years have I enjoyed sovereignty, while ye were weeping. I shall continue to rule in the same way, slaying thee with thy kinsmen. Where was thy Gandiva then when thou wert made a slave won at dice? Where, O Falguna, was Bhimasina's might then? Your deliverance then came neither from Bhimasina armed with mace, nor from you armed with Gandiva, but from faultless Krishna. It was she, the daughter of Prishata's house, that delivered you all, sunk in slavery, engaged in occupations worthy only of the low, and working as servitors. I characterized ye as sesame seeds without kernel. That is very true, for did not Partha bear a braid while living in Virata's city? In the cooking apartments of Virata, Bhimasena was fatigued with doing the work of a cook. Even this, O son of Kunti, is evidence of thy manliness. Flying from an encounter with braids and waistbands, thyself binding thy hair into a braid, thou wert employed in teaching the girls to dance. It is thus that Kshatriyas always inflict punishment on a Kshatriya. From fear of Vasudeva, or from fear of thyself, O Falguni, I will not give up the kingdom. Fight with Kesava as thy ally. Neither deception, nor conjurer's tricks, nor jugglery can terrify an armed man ready for fight. On the other hand, all this provokes only his wrath. 1,000 Vasudevas, 100 Falgunis, approaching me whose aim and weapons never go for nothing, will fly away in all directions. Encounter Bhishma in combat, or pierce the hills with thy head, or cross with the aid of thy two arms the vast and deep main. As regards my army, it is a veritable ocean with Saradwat's son as its large fish, Viving its smaller fish, Vrihadvala its waves, Somadatta's son its well, Bhishma its mighty force, Drona its unconquerable alligator, Karna and Salya, its fishes and whirlpools, Kamboja its equine head vomiting fire, Jayadratha its submarine rock, Purumitra its depth, Dharmarjna its waters, and Sakuni its shores. I, when having plunged into this swelling ocean with its inexhaustible waves of weapons, thou wilt from fatigue be deprived of thy senses, and have all thy relatives and friends slain, then will repentance possess thy heart. Then will thy heart turn away, O Partha, from the thought of ruling the earth like the heart of a person of impure deeds turning away from hope of heaven. Indeed, for thee to win a kingdom to rule is as impossible as for one not possessed of ascetic merit to obtain heaven. Thus ends the 162nd section in the Uluka Dutagamana Parva of the Udyoga Parva. Section 163, Uluka Dutagamana Parva. Sanjaya said, O monarch, provoking Arjuna still further, who was like a snake of virulent poison, by means of those wordy strokes of his, Uluka once more repeated the words he had once spoken. The Pandavas had, before such repetition, been sufficiently provoked, but hearing these words a second time and receiving those censures through the gambler's son, they were provoked beyond endurance. They all stood up, and began to stretch their arms. And looking like enraged snakes of virulent poison, they began to cast their eyes on one another. And Bhimasena, with face downwards, and breathing heavily like a snake, began to glance obliquely at Kesava, directing the blood-red corners of his eyes towards him. And beholding the wind god's son to be greatly afflicted and extremely provoked with rage, he of Dasara's race smilingly addressed the gambler's son and said, Depart hence without a moment's delay, O gambler's son, and say unto Suyodhana these words, Vis, thy words have been heard and sense understood. Let that take place which thou desire. At having said this, O best of monarchs, the mighty armed Kesava looked once more at Yudhishthira endued with great wisdom. Then in the midst and presence of all the Srinjayas, of Krishna possessed of great fame, of Drupada with his sons, of Virata, and all the kings there assembled, Uluka once more repeated unto Arjuna the words he had said, provoking him still further thereby, like one annoying a wrathful snake of virulent poison by means of a stake. And he also said unto all of them, viz., Krishna and others, those words that Duryodhana had instructed him to say. And hearing those harsh and highly disagreeable words uttered by Uluka, Partha was greatly excited and wiped the sweat off his forehead. And beholding Partha, O king, in that condition, that assembly of monarchs could not bear it at all, and at that insult to Krishna and the high-souled Partha, the warriors of the Pandavas were greatly agitated. Though endued with great steadiness of mind, those tigers among men began to burn with anger. And Drishtadhyumna and Sikhandi and that mighty warrior, Satyaki, and the 5 Kekaya brothers and the Rakshasa Gatotkoka, the sons of Draupadi, and Abhimanyu, and King Drishtakethu, and Bhimasena, endued with great prowess, and those mighty warriors the twins, jumped up from their seats, their eyes red with anger, tossing their handsome arms decked with red sandal paste and ornaments of gold. Then Vrikodara, the son of Kunti, understanding their gestures and hearts, sprang up from his seat, and gnashing his teeth, and licking with his tongue the corners of his mouth, and burning with rage, and squeezing his hands, and turning his eyes fiercely, said these words unto Uluka, ignorant fool, thy words have now been heard which Duryodhana said unto thee for the object of provoking us as if we were a set of imbeciles. Hear now the words which I say and which thou art to repeat unto the inaccessible Suyodhana in the midst of all the Kshatriyas and in the hearing of the Suta's son and the wicked-hearted Sakuni. We always seek to gratify our elder brother. It was for this, O thou of wicked behavior, that we tolerated thy acts. Dost thou not regard this as highly fortunate for thee? It was for only the good of our race that King Yudhishthira the just, endued with great intelligence, sent Hrishikesh to the Kurus for bringing about a peace. Impelled by fate, without doubt, thou art desirous of repairing unto Yama's abode. Come, fight with us. That, however, is certainly to take place tomorrow. I have indeed vowed to slay thee with thy brothers. O sinful fool, do not entertain the slightest doubt, for it will be as I have vowed. The very ocean, the abode of Varuna, may all on a sudden transgress its continents. The very mountains may split. Yet my words can never be false. If Yama himself, or Kuvara, or Rudra, assisteth thee, the Pandavas will still accomplish what they have vowed. I shall certainly drink Dusasana's blood according to my pleasure. And I also vow that Kshatriya whatsoever may then angrily approach me, even if he comet with Bhishma himself at the van, I will send him to Yama's abode. That which I have said in the midst of a Kshatriya assembly will certainly be true. I swear this by my soul. Hearing these words of Bhimasena, the wrathful Sahadeva also, with eyes red in anger, said these words in the presence of the assembled troops, words that become that proud hero. And he said, Listen, O sinful one, to the words I utter and which must be repeated to thy father. A difference would never have arisen between us and the Kuru, if Dhritarashtra had no relationship with thee. Of sinful acts and the exterminator of thy own race, thou hast been born as an embodiment of quarrel for the destruction of the whole world, as also for the destruction of Dhritarashtra's race. From our very birth, O Uluka, that sinful father of thine hath always sought to do us injury and evil. I desire to attain the opposite shore of that hostile relation. Slaying thee first before the very eyes of Sakuni, I shall then slay Sakuni himself in the sight of all bowmen. Hearing these words of both Bhima and Sahadeva, Falguni smilingly addressed Bhima saying, O Bhimasena, they that have provoked hostilities with thee, cannot live. Though they may dwell happily in their homes, those fools become yet entangled in the meshes of death. O best of men, Uluka doth not deserve to be addressed harshly by thee. What fault do envoys commit, repeating as they only do what they are instructed to say? And having thus addressed Bhima of terrible prowess, that mighty armed hero then addressed his heroic allies and well-wishers, headed by Dhristadyumna, saying, Ye have heard the words of the sinful son of Dhritarashtra in dispraise of Vasudeva and especially of myself. And hearing them ye have been filled with anger because ye wish us well. But through Vasudeva's might and your endeavours, I do not reckon even all the Kshatriyas of the earth assembled together. With your permission I will now communicate to Uluka what the reply to those words is, what indeed he should say unto Duryodhana. When the morrow cometh, stationed at the head of my division, the answer to these words shall I give through Gandiva. For they that are eunuchs answer in words. Hearing this, all those best of kings applauded Dhananjaya, wondering at the ingenuity of that reply. King Yudhishthira the just then, having spoken mildly unto all the kings each according to his age and as each deserved, said at last unto Uluka these words so that he might carry them to Duryodhana. And Yudhishthira said, No good king should patiently bear an insult. Having so long heard what thou hadst to say, I shall now tell thee what my reply is. Having heard then, O best of Bharata's race, those words of Duryodhana, Yudhishthira, that bull of the Bharata race, with eyes exceedingly red in anger and himself sighing like a snake of virulent poison, licking the corners of his mouth with his tongue, as if swelling with wrath, and casting his eyes on Janardana and his own brothers, said unto Uluka these words that were fraught with both mildness and vigour. And tossing his massive arms he said unto the gambler's son, Go Uluka, and say unto Duryodhana, that ungrateful, wicked-minded, embodiment of hostilities, that infamous wretch of his race these words, viz, O sinful wretch, thou always behavest with crookedness towards the Pandavas. O sinful fool, he that displayeth his prowess relying on his own might and summoned his foes to battle and fulfilled his own words, even he is a man of the Kshatriya order. Be thou a Kshatriya, O sinful wretch, and summon us to battle. O infamous one of thy race, do not come to battle, placing at thy head others for whom we profess respect. O Kaurava, relying on thy own might and on that of thy servants, summon the sons of Pritha to battle. Be Kshatriya in every way. He who summoned his foes, relying on the might of others, and incapable of receiving them himself is, indeed, a eunuch. Thou, however, thinkest highly of thyself, relying on the might of others. Being weak and unable thyself, why then dost thou roar so in words at us? Krishna said, My words also, O gambler's son, should be communicated unto Suyodhana. Let that morrow come to thee on which the battle is to take place. O thou of wicked soul, be a man. O fool, thou thinkest Janardana will not fight, since he hath been chosen by the Pandavas to act only as a charioteer, so thou art not alarmed. That, however, will not be, even for a moment. If my wrath is excited, I may then consume all the kings assembled by thee like a fire consuming a heap of straw. At Yudhishthira's command, however, I shall only discharge the functions of charioteer to the high-souled Falguni, of senses under complete control and who alone amongst us two will fight. If thou fliest beyond the limits of the three worlds, if thou sinkest into the depths of the earth, thou shalt, even at these places, behold Arjuna's cart tomorrow morning. Thou thinkest that Bhima's words have been spoken in vain. But know that Dusasana's blood hath already been quaffed. Know this also, that although thou hast uttered such cross and perverse words, yet neither Partha, nor King Yudhishthira, nor Bhimasena, nor any of the twins, regardeth thee as straw. Thus ends the 163rd section in the Uluka Dutagamana Parva of the Udyoga Parva. Section 164, Uluka Dutagamana Parva. Sanjaya said, having heard those words of Duryodhana, Gudakesha of great fame looked at the gambler's son with eyes exceedingly red. And eyeing Kesava also and tossing his massive arms, he addressed the gambler's son saying, he who, relying on his own strength, summoned his foes and fighteth with them fearlessly, is spoken of as a man. He however who, relying on the strength of others, summoned his foes, is an infamous Kshatriya. In consequence of his incapacity, such an one is regarded as the lowest of men. Relying on the strength of others, thou O Duryodhana, being a coward thyself, desirest yet O fool to rebuke thy foes. Having installed Bhishma, the oldest of all the Kshatriyas, whose heart is ever bent in doing what is good, who hath all his passions under control, and who is endued with great wisdom, in the command of thy troops and made him liable to certain death, thou indulgest in brag. O thou of wicked understanding, thy object in doing this is fully known to us, O wretch of thy race. Thou hast done it, believing that sons of Pandu will not, from kindness, slay the son of Ganga. Know however, O Dhritarashtra's son, that I will slay that Bhishma first in the sight of all the bowmen, relying upon whose strength thou indulgest in such boasts. O gambler's son, repairing hence unto the Bharatas and approaching Duryodhana the son of Dhritarashtra, say unto him that Arjuna hath said, so be it. After this night will have passed away, the fierce encounter of arms will take place. Indeed, Bhishma of unfailing might and firmly adhering to truth, hath told thee in the midst of the Kurus these words, viz. I will slay the army of the Srinjayas and the Salvyas. Let that be my task. Excepting Drona I can slay the whole world. Thou needest not, therefore, entertain any fear of the Pandavas. At this, thou, O Duryodhana, regardest the kingdom as thy own and thinkest that the Pandavas have sunk into distress. Thou hast been filled with pride at this. Thou seest not however danger that is in thy own self. I shall, therefore, in battle, first slay before thy very eyes, Bhishma the eldest of the Kurus. At sunrise tomorrow at the head of the troops, with standards and cars protect ye that leader of thy forces firm in his promises. I shall with my arrows throw him down who is your refuge from his car before the eyes of you all. When the morrow cometh, Suyodhana will know what it is to indulge in brag, beholding the grandsire covered with my arrows. Thou shalt, O Suyodhana, very soon see the fulfillment of that which Bhimasena in anger had said, in the midst of the assembly, unto thy brother, that man of limited sight, viz. Dusasana. Wedded to unrighteousness, always quarrelsome, of wicked understanding and cruel in behavior. Thou shalt soon see the terrible effects of vanity and pride, of wrath and arrogance, of bragging and heartlessness, cutting words and acts, of aversion from righteousness, and sinfulness and speaking ill of others, of transgressing the counsels of the aged, of oblique sight, and of all kinds of vices. O scum of humanity, how canst thou, O fool, hope for either life or kingdom if I, having Vasudeva for my second, give way to anger? After Bhishma and Drona will have been quieted and after the Suta's son will have been overthrown, thou shalt be hopeless of life, kingdom and sons. Hearing of the slaughter of thy brothers and sons, and struck mortally by Bhimasena, thou wilt, O Suyodhana, recollect all thy misdeeds. Tell him, O gambler's son, that I do not vow a second time. I tell thee truly that all this will be true. Departing hence, O Luka, say, O sire, these words of mine unto Suyodhana. It behoveth thee not to apprehend my behavior by the light of thy own. Know the difference there is between thy conduct and mine, which is even the difference between truth and falsehood. I do not wish harm to even insects and ants. What shall I say therefore of my ever wishing harm to my kinsmen? O sire, it was for this that 5 villages only were solicited by me. Why, O thou of wicked understanding, dost thou not see the dire calamity that threatens thee? Thy soul overwhelmed with lust, thou indulgest in wantings from defectiveness of understanding. It is for this also thou acceptest not the beneficial words of Vasudeva. What need now of much talk? Fight against us with all thy friends. Say, O gambler's son, unto the Guru Prince who always doth what is injurious to me these words also, viz, thy words have been heard, their sense also hath been understood. Let it be as thou wishest. O son of King, Bhimasena then once more said these words, O Uluka, say those words of mine unto the wicked-minded, deceitful, and unrighteous Suyodhana, who is an embodiment of sin, who is wedded to guile, and whose behavior is exceedingly wicked. Thou shalt have to dwell in the stomach of a vulture or in Hastinapura. O scum of humankind, I shall assuredly fulfill the vow I have made in the midst of the assembly. I swear in the name of truth, slaying Dusasana in battle, I shall quaff his lifeblood. Slaying also all thy other brothers, I shall smash thy own thighs. Without doubt, O Suyodhana, I am the destroyer of all the sons of Dhritarashtra, as Abhimanyu is of all the younger princes. I shall by my deeds gratify you all. Hearken once more to me. O Suyodhana, slaying thee, with all thy uterine brothers, I shall strike the crown of thy head with my foot in the sight of the king Yudhishthira the just. Nakula then, O king, said these words, O Uluka, say unto Dhritarashtra's son Suyodhana of Guru's race that all the words uttered by him have now been heard and their sense understood. I shall, O Kauravya, do all that thou hast commanded me to do. And Sahadeva also, O monarch, said these words of grave import, O Suyodhana, it will all be as thou wishest. Thou shalt have to repent, O great king, along with thy children, kinsmen, and counsellors, even as thou art now bragging joyously in view of our sufferings. Then Virata and Drupada, both venerable in years, said these words unto Uluka, it is even our wish that we become slaves of a virtuous person. Whether however we are slaves or masters will be known tomorrow, as also who owns what manliness. After them, Sikhundin said these words unto Uluka, thou must say unto King Duryodhana who is always addicted to sinfulness, these words, viz, see, O king, what fierce deed is perpetrated by me in battle. I shall slay grandsire of thine from his car, relying upon whose prowess thou art certain of success in battle. Without doubt, I have been created by the high-souled Creator for the destruction of Bhishma. I shall assuredly slay Bhishma in the sight of all bowmen. After this, Dhrishtadyumna also said unto Uluka, the gambler's son, these words, say unto Prince Suyodhana these my words, viz, I shall slay Drona with all his followers and friends. And I shall do a deed which none else will ever do. King Yudhishthira once more said these high words fraught with clemency, viz, O monarch, I never desire the slaughter of my kinsmen. O thou of wicked understanding, it is from thy fault that all this will assuredly take place. I shall of course have to sanction the fulfillment of their great feats by all these around me. Go hence, O Uluka, without delay or stay here, O sire, for, blessed be thou, we too are thy kinsmen. Uluka then, O king, thinking permission of Yudhishthira, the son of Dharma, went thither where King Suyodhana was. Thus addressed, the gambler's son, carefully bearing in mind all he had heard, returned to the place from which he had come. And arriving there, he fully represented unto the vindictive Duryodhana all that Arjuna had charged him with. And he also faithfully communicated unto Dhritarashtra's son the words of Vasudeva, of Bhima, of King Yudhishthira the just, of Nakula and Virata and Drupada, O Bharata, and the words of Sahadeva and Dhrishtadyumna and Sikhundin, and the words also that were spoken subsequently by Kesava and Arjuna. And having listened to the words of the gambler's son, Duryodhana, that bull of Bharata's race, ordered Dusasana and Karna and Sakuni, O Bharata, and their own troops and the troops of the allies, and all the assembled kings, to be arrayed in divisions and be ready for battle before sunrise next morrow. Messengers then, instructed by Karna and hastily mounting on cars and camels and mares and good steeds endued with great fleetness, quickly rode through the encampment. And at Karna's command they promulgated the order, array yourselves before sunrise tomorrow. Thus ends the 164th section in the Ulukadhyutagamana Parva of the Udyoga Parva. Section 165, Ulukadhyutagamana Parva. Sanjaya said, having listened to Uluka's words, Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, moved his army, headed by Dhrishtadyumna and others. And that vast army commanded by Dhrishtadyumna, consisting of 4 kinds of forces, viz. Foot soldiers and elephants and cars and cavalry, terrible and immovable like the earth herself, and guarded by mighty car warriors led by Bhimasena and Arjuna, could be compared to the vast ocean lying in stillness. And at the head of that vast force was that mighty bowman, the prince of Panchalas, invincible in battle, viz. Dhrishtadyumna, desirous of obtaining Drona for his antagonist. And Dhrishtadyumna began to select combatants from his own army for pitting them against particular warriors of the hostile force. And he gave orders unto his car warriors, suited to their strength and courage. And he pitted Arjuna against the Suta's son Karna, Bhima against Duryodhana, Dhrishtaketu against Salya, Uttamojas against Gautama's son Kripa, Nakula against Kritavarman, Yuyudhana against the ruler of the Sindhus Jayadratha. And he placed Shikandin in the van, pitting him against Bhishma. And he urged Sahadeva against Sakuni, and Chekitna against Sala, and the 5 sons of Draupadi against the Trigatas. And he urged Subhadra's son Abhimanyu against Vrishisna the son of Karna, and also against all the rest of the kings, for he regarded Abhimanyu as superior to Arjuna himself in battle. And distributing his warriors thus, individually and collectively, that mighty bowman, of the hue of blazing fire, kept Drona for his own share. And that leader of leaders of troops, the mighty and intelligent bowman Dhrishtadyumna, having arrayed his troops duly, waited for battle with a firm heart. And having arrayed the combatants, as indicated above, of the Pandavas, he waited, with collected mind, on the field for securing victory to the sons of Pandu. Thus ends the 165th section in the Ulukadhyutagamana Parva of the Udyoga Parva. Section 166, Ulukadhyutagamana Parva. Dhritarashtra said, after Falguni had vowed the slaughter of Bhishma in battle, what did my wicked sons headed by Duryodhana do? Alas, I already behold my father, Ganga's son slain in battle, by that bowman of firm grasp, viz. Partha having Vasudeva for his ally. And what also did that mighty bowman, that foremost of smiters, Bhishma, endued with immeasurable wisdom, say on hearing the words of Partha? Having accepted also the command of the Kauravas, what did that foremost of warriors, Ganga's son, of exceeding intelligence and prowess do? Vaisampayana continued, thus questioned, Sanjaya told him everything about what that eldest one of the Kurus, Bhishma of immeasurable energy, had said. Sanjaya said, O monarch, obtaining the command, Bhishma the son of Santanu said these words unto Duryodhana, gladdening him greatly, worshipping the leader of celestial forces, viz. Kumara, armed with the lance, I shall without doubt be the commander of thy army today. I am well versed in all military affairs, as also in various kinds of array. I know also how to make regular soldiers and volunteers act their parts. In the matter of marching the troops and arraying them, in encounters and withdrawing, I am as well versed, O great king, as Vrihaspati, the preceptor of the celestials is. I am acquainted with all the methods of military array prevalent amongst the celestials, Gandharvas, and human beings. With these I will confound the Pandavas. Let thy heart's fever be dispelled. I will fight the foe, duly protecting thy army and according to the rules of military science. O king, let thy heart's fever be dispelled. Hearing these words, Duryodhana said, O Ganga's son of mighty arms, I tell thee truly, I have no fear from even all the gods and asuras united together. How much less therefore is my fear when thy invincible self hath become the leader of my forces, and when that tiger among men, Drona, also waiteth willingly for battle. When you two foremost of men are addressed for battle on my side, victory, nay the sovereignty of even the celestial cannot assuredly be unattainable by me. I desire however, O Kaurava, to know who amongst all the warriors of the foe and my own are to be counted as Rathas and who Atirathas. Thou, O grandsire, art well acquainted with the prowess of the combatants of the foe, also of ourselves. I desire to hear this, with all these lords of earth. Bhishma said, Listen, O son of Gandhari, O king of kings, to the tale of Rathas in thy own army. Hear, O king, as to who are Rathas and who Atiratha. They are in thy army, many thousands, many millions, and many hundreds of millions of Rathas. Listen however to me as I name only the principal ones. Firstly, with thy country of brothers including Dusasana and others, thou art of the foremost of Rathas. All of you are skilled in striking, and proficient in cutting chariots and piercing. All of you are accomplished drivers of chariots while seated in the driver's box, and accomplished managers of elephants while seated on the necks of those animals. All of you are clever smiters with maces and bearded darts and swords and bucklers. You are accomplished in weapons and competent in bearing burdens of responsibility. Ye all are disciples of Drona and of Kripa, the son of Saradvat, in arrows and other arms. Wronged by the sons of Pandu. These Dhartarashtras, endued with energy, will assuredly slay in the encounter the Panchalas irresistible in combat. Then, O foremost of the Bharatas, come I the leader of all thy troops, who will exterminate thy foes, vanquishing the Pandavas. It behoveth me not to speak of my own merits. I am known to thee. The foremost of all wielders of weapons, Bhoja, chief, Kritavarman is Atiratha. Without doubt, he will accomplish thy purposes in battle. Incapable of being humiliated by persons accomplished in arms, shooting or hurling his weapons to a great distance, and a severe smiter, he will destroy the ranks of the foe, as the great Indra destroying the Danavas. The ruler of the Madras, the mighty bowman Salya, is as I think, an Atiratha. That warrior boasteth himself as Vasudeva's equal in every battle that he fighteth. Having abandoned his own sister's sons, that best of kings, Salya, hath become thine. He will encounter in battle the Maharathas of the Pandava party, flooding the enemy with his arrows resembling the very surges of the sea. That mighty bowman Bhurisravas, the son of Somadatta, who is accomplished in arms and is one of thy well-meaning friends, is a leader of leaders of car divisions. He will certainly make a great havoc among the combatants of thy enemies. The king of the Sindhus, O monarch, is in my judgment equal to two Rathas. That best of car warriors will fight in battle, displaying great prowess. Humiliated, O king, by the Pandavas on the occasion of his abducting Draupadi, and bearing that humiliation in mind, that slayer of hostile heroes will fight for thee. Having practiced after that, O king, the severest austerities, he obtained a boon, highly difficult of acquisition, for encountering the Pandavas in battle. That tiger among car warriors therefore, remembering his old hostility, will, O sire, fight with the Pandavas in battle, reckless of his very life which is so difficult to lay down. Thus ends the 166th section in the Uluka-Dyutagamana Parva of the Udyoga Parva. Section 167, Uluka-Dyutagamana Parva. Bhishma said, Sudakshina, the ruler of the Kambojas, is in my judgment, equal to a single Ratha. Desiring the success of thy object, he will certainly fight with the enemy in battle. O best of kings, the Kauravas will behold the prowess of this lion among our warriors exerted for thee, to be equal to that of Indra himself in battle. As regards the army of this king, O monarch, those smiters of fierce impetus, the Kambojas, will cover a large area like a flight of locusts. Coming from the province of Mahishmati, Nila, accoutred in blue mail, is one of thy Rathas. With his army he will cause a great havoc among thy foes, O child. He had hostilities with Sahadeva. O king, he will continually fight for thee, O thou of Kuru's race. Accomplished in battle, and of fierce energy and prowess, the princes Vinda and Anuvinda of Avanti are both regarded as excellent Rathas. These two heroes among men will consume the troops of thy foes with maces and bearded darts, and swords and long shafts, and javelins hurled from their hands. Like a couple of elephant leaders sporting in the midst of their herds, these two princes, O monarch, longing for battle, will range the field, each like Yama himself. The 5 royal brothers of Trigata are in my judgment all foremost of Rathas. The sons of Pritha provoked hostilities with them at Virata's city on that well-known occasion. Like huge Makaras, O king, agitating the stream of the Ganges crested with high waves, they will agitate the ranks of the Patas in battle. All the 5, O king, are Rathas, having Satyaratha amongst them as their first. Remembering the wrongs inflicted on them of old by that son of Pandu who is Bhima's younger brother, when the latter, O Bharata, on his car drawn by white steeds, was engaged, O monarch, in subjugating all the kings of the earth, they will certainly exert themselves bravely in battle. Encountering many Maharathas, chief of bowmen, leaders of Kshatriyas on the side of the Patas, they will certainly slay them. Thy son Lakshmana and the son also of Dusasana, those tigers among men, are both unretreating in battle. In prime of youth, of delicate limbs, endued with great activity, those 2 princes, well versed with battles and capable of leading all, those tigers among Kurus, those warriors, are I think 2 of our best Rathas. Devoted to the duties of the Kshatriya order, those 2 heroes will achieve great feats. Dandadhara, O monarch, is, O bull among men, equal to a single Ratha. Guarded by his own soldiers, he will fight in battle for thee. Endued with great impetus and prowess, King Vrihadvala, the ruler of the Kosalas, is, in my judgment, O sire, equal to 1 Ratha. Fierce in arms, this mighty bowman, devoted to the good of the Dhartashtra's, will exert himself powerfully in battle, gladdening his own friends. Kripa, the son of Saradvat, is, O king, a leader of leaders of car ranks. Reckless even of life which is so dear, he will consume thy foes. Born among a clump of heath as the son of that great sage, viz., the preceptor Gautama, otherwise called Saradvat, he is invincible like Kartikeya himself. Consuming untold warriors armed with various weapons and bows, he will, O sire, roam forth on the field of battle like a blazing fire. Thus ends the 167th section in the Uluka-Dyutagamana Parva of the Udyoga Parva. Section 168, Uluka-Dyutagamana Parva. Bhishma said, This thy maternal uncle Sakuni is, O king, equal to a single Ratha. Having caused the present hostilities to break out with the sons of Pandu, he will fight. There is no doubt in this. His troops are irresistible when rushing to battle. Armed with various kinds of weapons in abundance, in speed, they are equal to the very wind. The mighty bowman, Aswathaman, who is Drona's son, surpasseth all bowmen. Acquainted with all modes of warfare, and of unbaffled weapons. He is a Mahabharata like the wielder of Gandiva. The shafts of this warrior, shot from his bow, proceed in a continuous line, touching one another. If he wishes it, this Mahabharata is capable of consuming the three worlds. Engaged in austerities in his hermitage, he hath by these increased both his fury and energy. Possessed of great intelligence, he hath been favored by Drona with the gift of all celestial weapons. There is, however, O bull of Bharata's race, one great defect in him, in consequence of which, O best of kings, I do not regard him either as a Ratha or a Mahabharata. This regenerate man is exceedingly fond of living, life being very dear to him. Amongst the warriors of both armies there is no one who can be regarded as his peer. On even a single car he can annihilate the very army of the Celestials. Possessed of a strong frame, he can split the very mountains by the flaps of his bowstring, striking against the leathern fence on his left arm. Endued with innumerable qualities, this smiter of fierce effulgence will wander over the field of battle, incapable of being withstood like Yama himself, mace in hand. Resembling the fire at the end of the yuga as regards his fury, possessed of leonine neck, and endued with great luster, a Swathaman will extinguish the embers of this battle between the Bharatas. His father Drona is endued with great energy and though aged, is still superior to many young men. He will achieve great feats in battle. I have no doubt of this. Staying immovably on the field, he will consume Yudhishthira's troops. The Pandava army will play the part of the dry grass and fuel in which that fire will originate, while the impetus of his own weapons will be the wind for fanning it into a mighty flame. This bull among men is a leader of bands of warriors. The son of Bharadwaja will achieve fierce feats for thy good. The preceptor of all Kshatriyas of royal lineage, the venerable preceptor, will exterminate the Srinjayas. Dhananjaya, however, is dear to him. This mighty bowman, therefore, remembering his own celebrated and highly meritorious services as preceptor, will never be able to slay Partha, who is capable of achieving great feats without any trouble. O hero, Drona always boasteth of the numerous accomplishments of Partha. Indeed, Bharadwaja looketh on him with greater affection than on his own son. Endued with great prowess, he can, on a single car, beat in battle by means of his celestial weapons, all the gods, Gandharvas, and human beings united together. That tiger among kings, is, O monarch, one of thy Mahabharatas. Capable of breaking the ranks of hostile heroes, he in my judgment is one of thy foremost of warriors. Afflicting the ranks of the enemy at the head of his own large force, he will consume the Panchalas like fire consuming a heap of dry grass. Possessed of true fame, Prince Vrihadvala is equal to single Ratha. He, O monarch, will roam amid thy enemy's troops like death himself. His troops, O king of kings, accoutred in various kinds of mail and armed with divers kinds of weapons, will wander on the field, slaying all the warriors opposed to them. Vrishisna, the son of Karna, is one of thy foremost of warriors and is a Mahabharata. That foremost of mighty men will consume the troops of thy enemy. Endued with great energy, Jalasandha, O king, is one of thy foremost of Rathas. Born in Madhu's race, that slayer of hostile heroes, is prepared to cast away his very life in battle. Skilled in battle, that mighty armed warrior, scattering the enemy's ranks before him, will fight in battle mounted on car or from the elephant's back. That best of kings, O monarch, is in my judgment a Ratha. He will, in fierce battle, cast away for thy sake his very life with all his troops. Possessed of great prowess and acquainted with all the modes of warfare, he will, O king, fight fearlessly with thy foes in battle. Never retreating from battle, brave, and resembling Yama himself, Valika, O king, is in my judgment an Atiratha. Rushing to the encounter, he never cometh back. Indeed, he will slay hostile warriors in battle like the wind god himself. That router of hostile car ranks, that car warrior of wonderful feats in battle, commander of thy forces, Satyavan is, O King of Mahabharata. He never cherisheth grief at the prospect of battle. Confounding those warriors that stand in the way of his car, he falleth upon them. Always displaying his prowess against the enemy, that best of men will for thy sake, in fierce press of battle achieve all that a good Kshatriya should. That chief of Rakshasas, Alambusha, of cruel deeds, is a Mahabharata. Remembering his old hostilities with the Pandavas, he will commit great execution among the foe. He is the best of Rathas amongst all the Rakshasa warriors. Possessing powers of illusion, and firm in enmity, he will wander fiercely on the field. The ruler of Pragjyotisha, the brave Bhagadatta of exceeding prowess, is the foremost of those holding the elephant hook, and is skilled also in fighting from a car. An encounter took place between him and the wielder of Gandiva for days together, O King, each desirous of victory over the other. Then Bhagadatta, O son of Gandhari, who regarded Indra as his friend, made friendship with Indra's son the high-souled Pandava. Skilled in fight from the elephant's neck, this king will fight in battle like Vasava among the celestials, fighting from his Airavata. Thus ends the 168th section in the Uluka Parva of the Udyoga Parva. Section 169, Uluka Parva. Bhishma said, both the brothers Achla and Vrisha are Rathas. Invincible in battle they will slay thy foes. Endued with great strength, those tigers among men, those foremost of Gandharvas, are firm in wrath. Young and handsome, they are possessed of great strength. As regards this their ever dear friend, this one who is always boastful of his skill in battle, this one who always urgeth thee, O King, to fight with the Pandavas, this vile braggart, Karna, the son of Surya, this one who is thy counselor, guide and friend, this vain wight who is destitute of sense, this Karna, is neither a Ratha nor an Atirata. Without sense this one hath been deprived of his natural coat of mail. Always kind, he hath also been deprived of his celestial earrings. In consequence of the curse of Rama his preceptor in arms, as also of the words of a Brahmana who cursed him on another occasion, owing also to his deprivation of the accoutrements of battle, he in my judgment, is only half a Ratha. Having approached Falguni in battle, he will not certainly escape with life. Hearing this, Drona, that foremost of all wielders of weapons, said, It is even so as thou hast said. That is not untrue. He boasteth on the eve of every battle, but yet he is seen to retreat from every engagement. Kind, out of season, and blundering, it is for this that Karna, in my judgment, is only half a Ratha. Hearing these words, Radha's son, expanding his eyes in rage, and afflicting Bhishma with words like sharp hooks, said unto Ganga's son these words, O grandsire, though I am innocent yet from thy aversion to me, thou manglest me thus, according to thy pleasure, with thy wordy arrows at every step. I tolerate, however, all this for the sake of Duryodhana. Indicating me as only half a Ratha, thou regardest me worthless, as if indeed I were a coward. What doubt is there in this? I do not speak an untruth when I say that thou, O Ganga's son, art an enemy of the whole universe and especially of all the Kurus. The king, however, doth not know this. Who else is there that would thus seek to disunite and abate the energy of these kings that are all equal and that are all equally brave, as thou from thy hatred of merit seekest to do? O Kaurava, neither years nor wrinkles nor wealth nor possession of friends would entitle a Kshatriya to be regarded as a Mahabharata. It hath been said that a Kshatriya acquireth eminence only through might, as Brahmanas acquire eminence through superiority in mantras, as Vaisyas through wealth, and Sudras through age. Influenced however by lust and envy, and acting from ignorance, thou hast indicated rathas and atirathas according only to thy own caprice. Blessed be thou, O mighty Duryodhana, judge properly. Let this wicked Bhishma, who only wrongeth thee, be abandoned by thee. Thy warriors, once disunited, can with difficulty be united again. O tiger among men, thy main army, under such circumstances, can with difficulty be united, for greater will the difficulty be in uniting an army gathered from various provinces. Behold, O Bharata, doubt of success hath already arisen in the hearts of thy warriors. This Bhishma weakeneth our energy in our very presence. Where is the task of ascertaining the merits of rathas, and where is Bhishma of little understanding? I alone will withstand the army of the Pandavas. Coming in contact with me, whose arrows never go for nothing, the Pandavas and the Panchalas will fly away in all directions like oxen when they come in contact with a tiger. Where are battle, the press of armed encounter, good counsels and well-expressed words, and where is Bhishma, who is superannuated and of wicked soul, and who is impelled by the very fates to become their victim? Alone he challengeth the whole universe. Of false vision, he regardeth none else as a man. It is true the scriptures teach that the words of the old should be listened to. That however doth not refer to those that are very old, for these in my judgment become children again. Alone I will exterminate the army of the Pandavas. The fame however of such a feat will attach to Bhishma, O tiger among kings, for this Bhishma, O monarch, hath been made by thee the commander of thy forces, and the renown always attacheth to the leader and not to those that fight under him. I will not therefore, O king, fight as long as Ganga's son liveth. After Bhishma however hath been laid low, I will fight with all the Maharathas of the enemy united together. Bhishma said, this burden, vast as the ocean, in the matter of Duryodhana's battle with the Pandavas, is about to be taken up by me. I have thought of it for many years. Now that the hour is come for that terrible encounter, dissensions amongst ourselves should not be created by me. It is for this, O Suta's son, that thou livest. Else, superannuated though I am, and young in year thou art, I would quell thy desire for battle and crush thy hope of life. Thy preceptor Rama, the son of Jamdagni, shooting his great weapons, could not cause me the slightest pain. What canst thou therefore do to me? They that are good do not approve self-praise. Infamous wretch of thy race, know that I indulge in little boast because I am enraged. Vanquishing on a single car all the assembled Kshatriyas of the world at the Swayamvara of the daughters of the ruler of Kasi, I abducted those maidens. Alone, I stopped on the field of battle the rush of countless kings with their soldiers. Obtaining thee as an embodiment of strife, a great calamity is ready to overtake the Kurus. Strive then for slaying our antagonists. Be a man, fight with that Partha whom thou so often challengest. O thou of wicked understanding, I desire to see thee come out of that encounter with thy life. King Duryodhana then said unto Bhishma of great prowess, cast thy eyes on me, O Ganga's son, great is the business that is at hand. Think earnestly as how I may be most benefited. Both of you will render me great services. I desire now to hear of the best car warriors among the enemy. That is, of those that are Atiratkat among them and of those that are leaders of car division. O Kaurava, I desire to hear of the strength and weakness of my foes, since when this night will dawn, our great battle will take place. Thus ends the 169th section in the Ulukadhyutagamana Parva of the Udyoga Parva. Section 170, Ulukadhyutagamana Parva. Bhishma said, I have now, O king, indicated who thy rathas are and who thy atirathas and half-rathas. Listen now to the tale of rathas and atirathas among the Pandavas. If thou feelest any curiosity, listen then, O king, with these monarchs, to the tale of Rathas in the army of the Pandavas. The king himself, son of Pandu and Kunti, is a mighty Ratha. Without doubt, O sire, he will glide along the field of battle like a blazing fire. Bhimasena, O king, is regarded equal to 8 Rathas. In an encounter with the mace or even with arrows, there is none equal to him. Endued with the strength of 10,000 elephants and filled with pride and energy, he is superhuman. Those 2 bulls among men, the sons of Madri, are both Rathas. In beauty, they are equal to the twin Aswinis, and they are endued with great energy, stationed at the head of their divisions, all of them, remembering their great sufferings, without doubt wander along the field like so many Indras. All of them are endued with high souls and are tall in stature like the trunks of sala trees. Taller than other men by half a cubit in stature, all the sons of Pandu are brave as lions and endued with great strength. All of them, O sire, have practiced brahmacharya vows and other ascetic austerities. Endued with modesty, those tigers among men are possessed of fierce strength like the veritable tigers. In speed, in smiting, and in crushing force, all of them are more than human. All of them, on the occasion of the campaign of universal conquest, vanquished great kings, O bull of Bharata's race. No other men can wield their weapons, maces, and shafts. Indeed, O Kaurava, there are no men that can even string their bows, or uplift their maces, or shoot their arrows in battle. In speed, in hitting the aim, in eating, and in sports on the dust, they used to beat all of you even when they were children. Possessed of fierce might, they will, when they encounter this force, exterminate it in battle. A collision therefore with them is not desirable. Each of them can alone slay all the kings of the earth. That which happened, O great king, on the occasion of the Rajasuya sacrifice had occurred before thy very eyes. Remembering the sufferings of Draupadi and the harsh speeches uttered after their defeat at Dice, they will wander in battle like so many Rudras. As regards Gudakesha, of reddish eyes, having Narayana for his ally, there is not among both the armies any brave warrior that can be regarded as his equal. Let men alone, it hath not been heard by us that even among gods, Asuras, Uragas, Rakshasas, and Yakshas, there ever was born before, or there ever will be born hereafter, any warrior like unto him. O great king, intelligent Partha, own it that car which is furnished with the banner bearing the device of the ape, the driver of that car is Vasudeva. Dhananjaya himself is the warrior who fighteth from it, his again is that celestial bow called Gandiva, he owneth again those steeds fleet as the wind, his coat of mail is impenetrable and of celestial make, his 2 large quivers are inexhaustible, his arms have been obtained from the great Indra, Rudrat Kuvara, Tama and Varuna, and upon his car again, are those maces of frightful mien, and diverse are their great weapons having the thunderbolt amongst them. What warrior can be regarded as his equal who, stationed on a single car, slew in battle 1,000 Danava, having their abode in Hiranyapura? Inflamed with wrath, possessed of great might and prowess, incapable of being baffled, that mighty armed warrior while protecting his own army will certainly exterminate thy troops. Myself and preceptor Drona among the 2 armies, and no third warrior, O great king, can advance against Dhananjaya, that scatterer of arrowy showers. Pouring his shafts, like the very clouds during the rainy season when propelled by mighty winds, that son of Kunti when Vasudeva as his second, steppeth for battle. He is skillful and young, while both of us are old and worn out. Vaisampayana continued, hearing these words of Bhishma and recollecting with trembling heart the well-known valor of the sons of Pandu and thinking of it, as if it were present before their eyes, the massive arms of kings, decked with bracelets and smeared with sandal paste, seemed to hang down divested of might. Thus ends the 170th section in the Udyoga Parva of the Udyoga Parva. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please like and subscribe to be notified of when new audiobooks are uploaded. Thank you for listening and learning. Shanti.